everybody.
Hi, friends. Well, from beautiful Salt Lake City, Utah.
It's Thank God I'm Atheist.
You know, it's that podcast where we talk about religion and politics and current events. Just a couple atheists trying to survive in this crazy, mixed up, wacky world.
I'm Frank Feldman.
And I'm Dan Beecher.
That was really sing-songy.
I was giving it some English there.
Okay.
Just having some fun with it.
Well, I hope it lined up with the intro music.
You know, we've got a brilliant editor who I'm sure has done a good job.
All right.
Thanks, Roger.
All right. Well, coming up on the show today, Dan, later in the show, we're going to be talking about sort of the new purity culture in America and how it's if you take the political spectrum and you just like bend it around and you turn it into like a circle. There's some stuff that is like bled over from the far left to the far right, and
it's not what you think it is.
Oh,
I'll tell you that.
What do they think it is?
Well, when you think purity culture,
oh, that stuff, right?
You're not thinking about.
No, this is like
talking
seed
about.
oils and stuff. So.
Yeah, we're getting crazy here.
So we'll be getting to that later on in the show. First, though, Dan, we have some stuff to talk about. Some things that happen.
Yeah, various newses.
And including, Dan, a prophecy.
Ooh.
That came true, Dan.
What?
Back in January of 2023, Chris Reed of Chris Reed Ministries predicted that Jimmy Carter was gonna die.
Oh wow! Someone predicted that 100-year-old man was gonna die.
He was not long for this earth.
That guy must have had a direct line to Jesus with that one.
No, he did, Dan. He did, and I'm going to tell you the whole story.
Okay, fine.
Apparently, during back in January of 2023, he had a supernatural encounter with the Lord.
Sure.
He says that he was taken into the Capitol Rotunda in D.C. He emphasizes the fact that this was not a physical experience, but what he calls a transvision. He transvisioned this. Anyway, he says it was a funeral, and I walked up and saw the casket, and he realized that it was Jimmy Carter.
Okay,
and he says there was a note that was on the casket, and it said, "A time marker." And so he explains that that the natural death of Jimmy Carter will be a signpost for the death of the Joe Biden administration.
That very clearly says to me that he thought that the death would happen before the election.
Well, yes. But
he was very
he's
wrong.
Also fine with it just being the natural end, the natural passing of the Joe Biden administration.
Yeah, he's fine with that, but it's not.
But he's going to take this as a win.
Of course he is. Of course, they're all going to take every. There's no such thing as a loss when it comes to prophecy. There's all wins, and also the ones that you pretend like didn't happen.
Yeah, indeed. So I just want to say that this really rocked my world, Dan.
Yes, I'm sure.
Because here we are in the early days of 2025, and already prophecy is coming true.
Well, it just goes to show the power of the Lord's word.
Yeah.
And
I mean, I honestly thought that Jimmy Carter, who was already in hospice at this time, had another 20 years in him.
Oh, sure. Who didn't think that? We were all pretty convinced on that one.
I mean, how glad are you, though, that because he was going to pass away, that he didn't hold on and have to have a state funeral and with Trumpy
as presided over by Donald Trump.
Yeah, like at least he gets a little bit of. He's going to get a little bit of some dignified.
A final bit of dignity.
Yeah, which he deserves. You know, I mean, Jimmy Carter is such an interesting fellow because, I mean, talk about a religious man. Right? Yeah. But a religious man who did some amazing things with Habitat for Humanity and basically eradicating, what's the worm? The burrowing worm thing in Africa. I can't believe I'm blanking on the name of it right now. But did amazing work, has ended a lot of suffering, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I saw somebody post online of like how, you know, evangelicals should be ashamed of themselves compared to, you know, the example set by Jimmy Carter. And yeah, they should be.
True.
He seemed like a very decent human being. As much as you can be at that level of politics.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't know how good a president he was. I hear a lot of people talk about him being a bad president, but a good person. And I don't know because I haven't really looked into his presidency much. I was very young at the time.
He put solar panels on the White House. Can you wrap your head around that?
Way back when?
In the 70s, Jimmy Carter put solar panels on the White House. And Reagan promptly had them taken down.
Right. Because yeah, obviously.
Who wants to be sending that message out?
Yeah. How dumb. Okay. Well, I'm going to take us, the Episcopal Church, is a church, is a thing.
Yeah.
And you know, it's a member of the Anglican Communion. But here in the United States, there's the Episcopal Church. And they recently had a changing of the guard. The presiding bishop, Michael Curry, left. But there has still, you know, he left his position as presiding bishop, but he's still a bishop of the Episcopal Church. And he before he left, there was he was actually accused of misconduct by the family of another bishop. So Bishop Prince Singh was apparently awful to his family, like abusive, emotionally, physically abusive to his family. His family complained to the presiding bishop, Michael Curry, and former Office of Pastoral Development official Bishop Todd Owsley. And they did, let me check, fuck all. So now there has been some investigation, it finally got actually treated as though there were an issue there. The allegations were actually like taken in under advisement. And now Curry and Owsley have been, have been sort of in the crosshairs for mishandling this thing. Clerical misconduct or clergy misconduct, clerical. I don't know. Anyway, so it was referred for an investigation. It under Title IV of the church's whatever rules, Title IV
bylaws.
Yeah. So thank goodness for the victims of this abuse. There's finally some justice in that the church has agreed to make both Curry and Owsley, who are no longer in their positions of power, attend Title IV trainings.
Oh, good. So there's trainings on their own made up laws.
Right. Okay. And then Bishop Singh, who was the abuser in question or the accused abuser in question, also will have to undergo some trainings. And the church has very generously offered to pay for some therapy for the victims of the abuse.
Oh, okay.
Who, by the way, are probably just as traumatized by the church's inaction and the fact that they had to pursue this and probably got treated badly through the process of trying to get the church to pay attention to this as they were by the abuse. Like they were probably just as rocked by that. So yes, I think therapy is appropriate, but that seems like when you hear about it's the least I could do, this feels like that. It's the least we could do.
As the victims are thanking the church for their response.
Thank you, church. It's the least. Then do fucking more.
No, literally, it was the least.
Yeah. I feel like, it's so interesting to me because in this era, the sort of post-spotlight era of churches now being under the microscope a little bit when it comes to abuse of any kind, it's shocking how willing they are to still like provide cover for each other and to like, it's so easy to just be like, anytime, if you hear anyone complain of possible abuse, like there should be an instant jump to action. We know exactly what we do in this thing.
Right.
This person is put on leave and kept away from parishioners and anyone that could be put into danger until it's investigated and like instantly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like if it's credible in the least.
But they probably all think, our problem isn't that bad. We just need to deal with this one guy. Right.
Yeah.
And then another one happens and they're like, oh, well, it's still not that bad.
I know him,
but then it's like a pattern.
Is good.
And then like all of a sudden, like they've got somebody who's like, if you don't, you can't crack the whip now because I know about Father so-and-so and, the good Reverend whatever, like.
And it wouldn't be fair.
Yeah. Yeah. These problems are cultural and institutional and like
systemic.
Yeah. Like how do you, I am not by any measure trying to give them a pass, but like, these are deep problems and it needs people, to be, brave in a way that like administrators just aren't.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not going to happen. Like it's sick. It's never going to happen. What we can rely on, Dan, this is truth right now. I'm going to speak truth. Is that if in 20, 30 years, we're still doing this show, these stories are still going to be bread and butter.
Yeah.
They're still going to be coming up.
Here's the thing. You and I skip 99% of these stories.
And yet we talk about it all the time.
If there is literally, I almost every time I see a clergy abuse story, I'm just like, old news. Wah, wah. And so it's shocking to me. This one is one of those ones where the reason I chose it was just because they're still handling everything so goddamn badly. Yeah. I don't get what their thing is.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't make any sense to me.
It's amazing. Humans are fucked. We're fucked.
Yeah.
The longer I live and the more I see all the ways in which humanity just keeps failing. Right.
Yeah.
We are fucked.
Yeah.
But somehow we survived this long, so maybe we'll keep surviving. I don't know.
We'll survive. Sure. We'll never be the grand species that we were raised to believe we were. We will never be that. This beautiful, amazing, noble, intelligent species.
Fuck you, Gene Roddenberry.
Right? Right?
I said
Back off.
Even as a fan. Fuck you, Gene Roddenberry. You put some ideas in my head about the potential of the human race. Fuck you.
Oh my God. It's just so funny.
All right. Well, here's this is a great story to highlight how great humanity is, Dan. Especially when just allowed to run amok. The Taliban, Dan.
Oh, good. Thank God we were going to the Taliban. That's what I was hoping we would get to.
This will cheer you up. If you're sad
Talk
about humanity.
Apex of humanity, yeah.
If you're sad about the current state of things, guess what? It could be and can always be worse, especially for women in Afghanistan. There are 2 new developments this week. Not just one horrible thing happening for women in Afghanistan this week, but 2. The first one is that the Taliban has announced that they are going to close all national and foreign non-governmental groups, so that's NGOs, in Afghanistan that employ women.
Okay.
And so I guess 2 years ago, they told NGOs to suspend the employment of Afghan women, allegedly because they didn't wear the Islamic headscarf correctly. But now they're cracking down. It's final. Yeah. It's official. So the economy ministry is the one that's sort of heading this up. They warned that failure to comply with this latest order would lead to NGOs losing their license to operate. If so, they have to fire their women, their female employees, or they can't operate anymore. It's
just like, okay, then you guys take care of them then. You guys take care of your own people.
No. That is definitely not what the Taliban is saying at all. So that's the one story. Just so we all know that happened. And this, just let's all remember that women have already been barred from most jobs and most public spaces, right? And the Taliban has also banned any education beyond 6th grade for women as well.
Yeah. Or talking to people or fucking thinking or like women aren't supposed to do anything.
Right. And so the other development that I wanted to talk about has to do with I guess they're making they're updating their building codes maybe and addressing an issue that I guess is just really quite awful concerning women and buildings in Afghanistan. They have ordered that windows should not look into places where a woman might sit or stand. This applies to new buildings as well as existing buildings. The windows.
If she's casually reclining, can we look in?
Let's see, sit or stand. Yeah, a chaise lounge,
right?
Or chaise long would be allowed.
A fainting couch is fine.
Let's see. Windows should not overlook or look into areas like yards or kitchens. Where a window looks into such a space, then the person responsible for that property must find a way to obscure this view to remove harm by installing a wall, fence, or screen. Municipalities and other authorities must supervise the construction of new buildings to avoid installing windows that look into or over residential properties.
They're just making their country so great.
Oh, totally.
It's make Afghanistan great again.
Yeah.
The MAGA people.
Yeah. So that's happening, and it's like where it will stop. I don't know. Because you think
I don't think it will stop.
Well, no, where this
it will stop when the violence begins.
Yeah. Well, okay, but like I guess what I'm saying is like, when will they stop finding new restrictions? Right. Like, like when
are they restricted enough?
Yeah. When will they be happy with women? Right. When the only woman that they have to see is their wife and their daughters and their mother. Yeah. Like what? And what is wrong with these men? Right?
No.
Like,
well, I mean, it's a power trip, right? None of this is about actually like what they don't care about, seeing women or whatever. They care about maintaining and structuring power. And so it won't stop, because they'll just find new ways of like making sure that they feel like they've got everyone subjugated.
Yeah.
And not just the women, the men too. Like this affects them as well. This affects everybody.
Well, yeah. I mean, we've talked about the beard rules, right?
Yeah.
That men who can't grow beards, right, are banned from certain positions.
Yeah.
Right. Like you can't have there's certain positions in the military or something that you can't hold if you can't grow a full Taliban beard.
Oh my God. You and I would be gods.
We're fine, but we know how many men do you know who just can't grow a full beard?
Right.
Right. And it's like, holy shit.
You wouldn't be because you're gay. So that would be a problem.
Yeah. I have my own problems, but I can butch it up.
Yeah, sure. Everyone there is a lie forever now anyway.
No, so I guess from my perspective, yeah, I don't know. I'm just going to make a really bad joke.
Yeah. We all caught that you were fighting yourself on that one. Frank's in an argument with Frank again.
Yeah, I can't figure out the right way to say the joke without being horribly offensive, so. Well, even though it's not my anyway, we were talking about this in the diary. If you want more,
if you want to hear more about our discussions of our humor, please refer to Frank and Dan Diary number whatever this would be
681.
All right, I'm going to take us to a journal that I think you'll agree just from the title is a respectable and honorable journal. This would be the Journal of Sociology and Christianity. Sounds great, right?
Yeah.
It's published a new paper by a social scientist named Philip Truscott. He's an evangelical Christian.
The third. Is he a third? It feels like there should be a third.
It feels like he should be the third.
Philip Truscott the
if you
third.
saw a photo of him, you'd think probably not.
Oh, okay.
He doesn't have that the third vibe to him. But he has published he has done some research and published a new thing. And what he discovered is that college campuses in states with a higher percentage of nuns, meaning people who claim no religious affiliation, have higher rates of sexual assault on campus, as well as higher suicide rates overall.
Okay.
Now, the numbers are interesting, and they don't seem to be incorrect. The numbers seem to be correct. Truscott, who as a social scientist should distinctly know better, draws causal.
Yep, there you go.
Makes causal claims about this,
right? As
in more secularness equals more sexual assault and suicide. Meaning if you yourself don't love Jesus, you'll probably rape somebody and then commit suicide over it or something like that.
Right.
He didn't say it quite that boldly, but he did basically, he makes some pretty bold claims. He argues that this means that that families should put their kids into religious schools so that because
they don't kill themselves or get raped.
Because then they will be more likely to stay in religion, and that will reverse the decline of religion in America, and thus will reduce the rate of suicide and sexual assault.
It's funny. I don't think their decline in of religiosity in this country is due to a lack of indoctrination. You're not wrong. By previous generations, right? I and again, anecdotal, I suppose, but like, I was fully indoctrinated. Right?
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think everyone I know was.
I think that's a good point. Yeah. Here's what I think are interesting and important takeaways. First of all, we should not discount this and just throw it away. Like these are scary findings, and more research should be done to get to the bottom of what's going on with that.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Right.
Correlation is definitely not causation.
Right.
And so we should be careful about it. For example, the idea that there is fewer campus rape and sexual assault in redder states and more religious states maybe, and I can't verify this, but maybe the result of, like, for instance, religious schools like BYU or Liberty University putting the kibosh on reporting sexual assaults and rape.
Yeah.
Whereas state schools in liberal states are very quick to make sure that things get reported and handled correctly. So, there's they work hard not to victim blame, though I'm sure it happens sometimes,
right? But
certainly not in the ways that it happens at religious colleges.
Right.
So I think that's something to consider. I don't know how much that would affect the numbers if we actually had real numbers from all these other places.
Right.
And then the other thing is that, like, if suicidality is more prominent among the secular, which I could very easily believe is true, it's probably not because Jesus makes you less suicidal. It's probably because our society rejects us and rejects and is incredibly hard on people who leave their faith and who don't have a faith.
Right.
And what we should be looking toward, what I think, I don't know the cause that there's some speculation there, but I think that we can definitely do a better job of providing support for each other.
Yeah.
No, religions are a support structure. They are a social support structure that is just sort of there. And when you leave that, or when you don't have that, what we need to have better support structures for each other.
Yeah. And yes, we know that that's a problem.
Yeah.
That's good of you to point out.
But yeah, so
especially
there you
since
go.
He's just pulling stuff out of his ass.
We get to as well.
That's absolutely.
Turnabout is fair play.
Indeed. Well, Dan, I don't know if this is a good thing, a bad thing, probably a bad thing. There is a new U.S. Congress. It's the 119th Congress. It's convening as we speak. And to start its 2-year reign of getting nothing done. But
they might get some stuff done.
We'll see.
Nothing is the best case scenario.
But whenever there's a new Congress, it's fun to look at the numbers as far as like the religious breakdown of the new Congress. It will come as no shock to anybody. But Christians are overrepresented in this new Congress.
What?
No way. Making up 87% of Congress. That's combining the numbers of the Senate and the House of Representatives into one big category. And so that is down. That's down, Dan. From 88% in the last session.
Wow.
So I guess in some ways we're making progress.
It has dipped a whole percent.
But if you look at the longer term, it's down from 92% a decade ago.
Okay.
So a 5-point, drop in 10 years. Okay.
Yeah. Except that how does that relate to the American populace as a whole?
Well, let's get into some of those numbers because we have some side-by-sides right here. So I just said it, 87% of Congress is Christian. 62% of U.S. adults are Christian. So
that is a huge disparity.
Really, truly big. Protestant, if you look at them as a whole group, without breaking the numbers down at all, 55.5% of Congress is Protestant. 40% of U.S. adults are Protestant. And let's see, Congress is made up. Okay, so Baptists are 14% of Congress, 11% of the U.S. population. Methodists are 5%, U.S. population 3%. Let's see, going down, overrepresentation of the Episcopal or Episcopalians, Presbyterians. Lutherans are pretty close to appropriate representation. Congregationalists are all three of them fairly accurate representation across the country. Now, here's interesting. Non-denominational there are 2.4% of Congress, whereas that's 8% of U.S. adults. Okay. So non-denominational Protestant, right? Like that's a funny non-committal group, right?
Yeah, I don't know what that looks like.
So it being underrepresented, I don't know what that means. Let's see, unspecified and other. This is definitely the wishy-washy group. 19% of Congress is unspecified or other types of Protestants. Okay. 19% versus 6% of the U.S. population. Right. So now we're starting to get into some interesting territory where we're starting to see where our people might be. Right. Yeah. At least if we're broadly categorizing our people as the nones, right? The people who don't claim anything, which if you actually look at the don't know or refused to answer people are 4% of Congress and 2%. Oh, wait, that's wrong. Where's the one that I wanted to read? Something else. Unaffiliated. That's the one. Unaffiliated is 0.6% of Congress, but it's 28% of U.S. adults.
Interesting.
Right. And so there's obviously, when people run for office in the United States, there is an incentive to claim some level of spirituality, even if it's only unspecified or other Protestant. Right.
Yeah.
Let's see. And then there was another set of numbers.
I just want someone to claim that other, when someone asks, okay, other, what does that mean? Just be like, that's the name of my denomination is other.
Go to the First Other Church of Milwaukee. Let's see, comparing this year's to last year, or this Congress to last Congress. I don't know if those numbers are all that fascinating. But the breakdown between Republicans and Democrats of these groups. Catholics are interesting because the majority of Catholics are, and not by a huge margin, but Democrats. Okay. 70 members of the House versus 56 members of the House are, that's the Republican to Democrat split.
Right.
Protestant is 100. There are 146 Protestant members, 91 Democratic members. Mormons, all 6 of them are Republican. Shock horror. And
I mean, that didn't used to be the case always. There was what's his name? Harry Reid for so long.
Yeah, that's true. Let's see, Jewish. There are 23 Jewish members of the House of, the House of Representatives, 3 of which are Republican. 20 are Democrats. And then other interesting, there are 2 Buddhists.
Who let them in? What? Get rid of them.
4 Muslims, 4 Hindus, 3 Unitarians.
And a partridge in a pear tree.
And the numbers split similarly in the Senate. The proportions are kind of what we were just talking about, except all 9 Jewish senators are Democrats. There is a Buddhist who's a Democrat. And
yeah, I mean, I think the big takeaway is the question of when will our thing feel represented?
God,
you know what I mean?
I know.
We are a commanding voting bloc.
Yeah.
And yet nobody, we command exactly nothing.
Yeah, the Democrats are willing to acknowledge our existence.
Are they? Kind of.
They did. There were a lot of like political speeches that sort of,
hinted at us.
Yeah, for those, however you believe or not, right?
Right.
They'll say stuff like that.
Sure.
And boy, I feel so included when they do.
Oh, goody.
Yay. No, I mean, not to get into like the political structural problems in the American system and how it just isn't representative by design, right?
Yeah.
Of minority groups. Then, unless you reform that, it's going to be hard. I mean, unless we all start to congregate in certain parts of the country, like if all of a sudden, Seattle or wherever is just
no. That's not how we do it. All atheists move to Wyoming.
Yeah, because then we get 2 senators.
We get 2 senators. We'll just rock the world.
Yeah.
If we could just if someone come up with a company that we can all work for in Wyoming, and we'll all just move there and take it over, and they'll hate us.
Oh, the Christian nationalists are doing this in Tennessee right now.
I know.
I read a story about it, and it's pretty amazing because like the local MAGA types are incensed. They're terrified of what the Christian nationalists are going to do. And I was just like, I was reading the article and I'm like, brain not compute. Like,
yeah,
it's like, okay, maybe they're a little bit more fractured over there than I thought they were. But yeah, I agree with you. Let's do something. But until that happens, like, yeah, we're not going to be very well represented.
No.
I mean, that's how do Mormons have, so many members of Congress? Because of Utah, right?
Yeah, because they geographically
and
did a thing.
And the couple surrounding states that happen to have larger than what should be acceptable.
Yeah. Mormons had a viable, like, major party candidate for, like, they never should have had a candidate for the presidency.
Yeah.
That should never have happened.
Although I'd take him at this point.
For sure. What a delightful breath of fresh air that piece of shit would have been. Oh man. All right. I am going to now I get to talk about a dust up that has happened in our world.
Oh no.
There's many of our listeners will know of this. There was a huge to-do over at the FFRF.
Yeah.
The FFRF decided in their wisdom to publish an op-ed on their blog by biologist Jerry Coyne, Coyne, who is a popular science communicator. He's the author of Why Evolution is True and Faith versus Fact, Why Science and Religion Are Incompatible.
Ooh, yeah, okay.
He's a fairly prominent atheist scientist, biologist, who has gone the way of so many, I'm going to say, academics of a certain generation. I'm not going to name the generation. Don't worry. I'm not actually calling out the boomers. But he along with along with other prominent atheists who are not willing to keep up with the current biological science. He wrote an op-ed that was basically just transphobic and dickish about trans people. And because he has been on the board, the advisory board of the FFRF, they gave it the go ahead, and I don't know why or how.
Yeah, because
they have been explicitly LGBT supporting in and claim to currently still be supporting of the rights and sort of validity and personhood of the LGBTQ community. The backlash was tremendous about this. So what happened was there was huge backlash. Within hours of being published, this op-ed was taken down from the blog, and I'm not going to call it an apology. An explanation was posted by FFRF that just said, "We still support LGBT rights." Blah blah blah. It was a non-apology apology. And now a bunch of very grumpy old men have decided that they are no longer going to be on the board, and they have resigned from the advisory board. That would be Jerry Coyne himself, Richard Dawkins, the other ding dong who's been transphobe, and Steven Pinker. All of whom I have read and respected work from, and all of whom we can safely just throw them away now.
Wow! Throw those books away.
Not the books. So the early books are all they're products of their time, but they're useful and interesting. But woof. And of course, they run directly to, well, this is the new religion. They now, protecting trans people is a dogma that you're not allowed to commit heresy against or whatever. And it's just like, no, this isn't gender ideology. It's just acknowledging a fact of humanity that we haven't acknowledged before. And yes, you guys understand a biological concept, but there's more to this than biology. For those of you who don't know, gender is a social construct. It is not a biological construct. And biological sex is not a binary either. It's just not. And they know that. So I don't know where they just are refusing to acknowledge facts from their own fields, really. There was a really interesting sort of op-ed response by Aaron Rabinowitz that was posted over on the Friendly Atheist blog. Aaron Rabinowitz is the ethics director of the Creator Accountability Network, and he hosts a couple podcasts, Embrace the Void, Philosophers in Space. He's an interesting guy. I've had some good conversations with him, and I really like him. He's very, very smart. And he points out that, basically in Coyne's essay, he sort of took the clout that he has built as a biologist and then used it to basically shift the conversation, because Coyne's thing was titled "Biology is not bigotry," but here's the thing. But what Rabinowitz had to say was that, but you weren't talking about biology, really. What you ended up talking about was ethics. And that's my my thing that I talk about. So let me talk to you about like what you're actually going after and what you're actually doing. Anyway, I encourage people to go and read it. Go and read if you can find it, because the FFRF took down Coyne's original thing, but go and read his thing if you want to. He actually includes a bunch of very spurious numbers, including numbers that actually like are. He claims that what the numbers show is that trans people are more likely, especially I think specifically trans women, are more likely to commit sexual crimes and are more likely to be sexual predators, and it's all based on very bad numbers. Numbers that he got from an article in the BBC that even the BBC acknowledged was not great numbers. It's all just, it's so bad. It's not good science. I mean, I think that's a theme of this episode. It's just badly using bad science to hurt people that don't need hurting.
Bad science.
So yeah, it's a very unfortunate turn of events. I don't think that this will. I think that the FFRF's reputation has been damaged by this. I don't know how much. I don't think that those three guys leaving their sort of, it's a meaningless position to be on an advisory board. It's not like doing anything. It's just, famous names to sort of add credibility to an organization. And I don't think they needed these guys, but it's just, it's all very disappointing.
Yeah. It's interesting the hills that people will die on. Sometimes, right? Like,
yeah.
Like,
and the unwillingness to see the harm that can be caused.
Yeah.
It's just so, I'm a biologist, and so it doesn't matter. Like, I only go where the evidence leads. No, you go where your emotions lead you, and then you don't bother to think about what harm you could cause.
Mm-hmm.
Love it. Great job, everybody. All right. Well, if you would like to write into us about this or any of the things that we have spoken of, please feel free to do so. Podcast at thankgodimatheist.com.
Or call us and leave us a voicemail message. We'd love to hear from you. The telephone number is 424-666-8442. Stick around. There's more show coming up.
All right, well, we've had some folks write into us and call into us, so let's get right to that. Michael wrote into us to say, hey, Frank and Dan, in episode 680, you talked about spiritual, and there are a lot of people who describe themselves as spiritual, but not religious. I'm 60 plus and divorced. I'm an open atheist, ex-Mormon. There are all kinds of hazards of dating at my age. I'd love to go on a dating app and filter for religion equals atheist, but that gives me 1 or 0 hits. So I have to add spiritual, not religious to my search. Then explore that when we talk in person. One woman I dated last year admitted that she's an atheist, but lists herself as spiritual because if she marks atheist, she doesn't match with anyone, and it turns off a lot of men. So there's an example of a bit of bias against saying you are atheist and using spiritual as a softer version.
Yeah.
There you go. I suppose while there's going to be a bunch of bias in the world, we gotta play it as it lies to some extent.
Yeah, that's a bummer.
Yeah,
too bad.
It is a bummer.
It's just a fucking bummer.
It's sad.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel good.
Yeah.
I don't like it. It would be that would be interesting data to cull too, to get that data from the dating apps and the dating websites and just see how that plays out.
Like, I mean, obviously when you're dating, you're also trying to attract like as many people to your, like if you're using a platform like that. Because, just because you're atheist doesn't mean you couldn't be compatible with somebody who has some beliefs, right?
Yeah. Sure.
Depending on how those beliefs sort of manifest and play out in life and everything.
And how they are deployed.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember, because I used to do dating apps. I'm trying to remember how I would handle that. I don't really recall. I mean, in the gay community, like it's already a lot of non-belief, so I think it's probably a little different. But
yep. All right. Well, we have a voicemail, do we not?
We do indeed. This is somebody responding to. We had that story about the real estate agent being reprimanded last week for some religious comments that he'd made. Well, not just religious comments. That's being a little too soft. He made some comments against gay marriage.
Right.
Back, I can't remember how many years ago, 8 years ago or so. And yeah, I sort of took the tact of well, maybe he deserves some freedom of expression. But we did get an email from somebody.
Yeah, we got a few emails.
One that I thought was really thoughtful and sort of explaining sort of the some of the laws, the Fair Housing Act in particular, and how that kind of works, and how the NAR may have been sort of they're sort of an ethics organization as well, and so
and how the office, how the job of a realtor is actually a public trust.
Yeah, and those are obviously things I wasn't thinking about, but I do. Well, let's listen to this voicemail, and then we'll have a little bit more to talk about.
Okay.
Hey, Frank and Dan. I just want to let you know that I don't think you're wrong at all about the real estate agent being absolutely maligned by the Realtor Association. I mean, at least in my opinion, I don't think that something he posted on his account, not associated with his real estate account, should be grounds for him to lose his job. If he had been charged with hate speech or something, then I think the situation changes. But just because he was, and let's be clear, an absolute shitbag on his personal account doesn't mean that they should be able to take away his license. Does me reposting a sexy Luigi meme on my personal account mean I should lose my job as head of national security? I think not. Anyway, love the show, of course, and I'll sign off with the TGIA well-known mantra: Hail Satan, praise Davis, and thank God I'm atheist. Bye.
Cute.
Yes. So yeah,
there you go.
There's a lot of moving pieces to this whole thing.
It's tricky.
It's a little bit more complicated than maybe I made it seem on the show last week. I was zeroing in on sort of a little bit of bristling I've had lately against like cancel culture type stuff, and
even assholes deserve to make a living, something like that.
Even assholes, I don't know about that statement. Even assholes have a right to free speech, right? Yeah, and where should those rights be protected? And when, like, people should know better with social media. They should just absolutely know better.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, a lot of people probably just think they're posting to their friends, and it feels like a private room, right? It feels like a private space, not fully realizing that this, the internet is, written in permanent marker, right? And it's so anyway.
All right. Austin wrote into us to say, hey, y'all, it's been a while. This is Austin from North Mississippi. I'm writing to tell y'all how distressed the response to New Orleans terrorist attack is.
Oh, yeah.
Or how distressing, the response to the New Orleans terrorist attack is. Our Republican state senator, Tate Reeves, has asked for prayers for New Orleans. This really gets under my skin because instead of helping anyone, he is putting it all in Sky Daddy's hands. I mean, that's the thing, isn't it? That's just when you don't want to actually do anything. I mean, if he's a state senator of Mississippi, he's not going to care. He's not going to feel
there's not much too much do.
Pressure to do something.
Yeah.
I suppose it would be nice.
He could organize something though. To help people.
Send some aid.
Yeah.
Send some help.
Yeah.
Do a thing would be great.
Yeah.
But, or, just fund things that would actually stop, things like, I don't know, whatever, our country is fucked. All right, I'll just keep going then. This one was unsigned, but it says, hi, Frank. Hey, Dan and Frank. Oh, Dan and Frank instead of Frank and Dan. It just doesn't roll off the tongue the way the other does. Hi, Dan and Frank. Hear me out here. LOL. I do not believe in magic in the traditional sense. However, my house is full of crystals, rocks, herbs, candles, incense, essential oils, and I'm excitedly waiting on my sister to finish developing her deck of tarot/oracle/whatever cards that all 5 siblings and our partners have brainstormed and participated in creating. I believe in the power of our mind. I use pretty objects and scents to boost my mind. For example, I have really bad social anxiety. However, if I find a pretty rock and say this rock to me represents grounding, safety, acceptance, love, etc., I can carry it with me, and every time I see/feel my pretty rock, I remind my brain what it represents. She says, sure, technically I don't need my tokens, but it is much easier to remember what I'm teaching my brain with them. Without, I tend to let myself go until I panic and then have to calm down. With them, I can usually keep my brain from getting to panic mode.
That's interesting.
And that is the proper way to view this stuff, right? My friend of the show and frequent co-host Kate has been getting into witchiness lately.
Oh.
But for her, it's not about actual magic. It's about the power of sort of the archetypes of it and the sort of the metaphoric power of it. It's about focusing one's mind. It's about having when you feel ill at ease or bad about something in the world, rather than just feeling that, focus your brain on it. Cast a spell and in your brain actually decide what it is you want from the world and from yourself. And I have no problem with any of that stuff.
Cast a spell and curse people. Can she curse people?
Oh my God. I'm going to encourage her. Cursing is the new black. It is so hot right now. Do witchy things.
Yeah.
If for no other reason than it'll piss off and freak out the evangelicals in your life. No, don't do that. We don't need another satanic panic. Don't let them know. Just do it for you.
Yeah. Yeah, fair enough. But no, that idea of using sort of externalized, reminders, tokens, what have you, right? To help you. I think that's actually pretty brilliant, especially if it does, right? Like if that gives you the ability to cope in situations that are difficult, why the hell not? I would never, judge that. That's fantastic, actually.
Knock yourself out. My mom used to call it a worry stone.
Oh, really?
She said that, you find a stone that that feels good to sort of just rub your thumb against.
Uh-huh.
Something with a nice little smooth indentation or whatever, and then you keep it in your pocket and you rub your thumb, and you got your worry stone.
Interesting.
It's a fidget spinner. I don't know. Whatever it is.
Where did those go?
They're about.
Are they still out there? Do kids still fidget spin?
I don't. Yeah, I mean, I've seen various iterations, and various other things that fill the same need.
Well, those were clearly satanic. So,
well, that's true.
That's
true.
Right where they
it's a known fact that fidget is the name of one of Satan's worst demons. There's like Azazel and then fidget.
I don't know why that's funny. It shouldn't be funny, Dan.
I admonish
you, that should not have been funny.
How dare you? You laughed at it. That's your problem then. We have some folks to thank. I'm gonna launch us with Douglas, who has given us a one-time donation and therefore has become a priest in our magic powers. Also, our magic powers are also metaphorical and not real.
Very much so.
But enjoyable nonetheless. And Douglas, now you may walk through the world pointing at people and saying, "I condemn thee in the name of the Lord." And when they say, what business do you have? You just say, "I am a priest."
Yeah. Get thee hence, Satan.
I have in me the priesthood. And do that.
Yes, do that. Please do that. And let us know how that goes.
Yeah, exactly. If any of you listen, it's a weird time in our world. But if any of you have gotten any joy or comfort or anything from this show, it would help us if you could give us just toss a couple coins in our direction.
Yes.
It would be very nice. You can go to thankgodimatheist.com/donate, and that would be super duper nice of you.
Indeed. And as always, Dan, we have our top donor to thank, our Lord and Savior, Davis.
More show coming up. All right, Frank. Listen, I don't know if you know this, but here on the worst possible timeline, we're staring down the barrel of the potential of one Robert F. Kennedy Jr. becoming the health guru of the country.
Yes.
The official one, the one who actually has some control over like what's happening in our country's health. And he's a lunatic who knows nothing. But he thinks he knows a lot.
Yeah.
And the thing that I want to talk about is we pitched it earlier as sort of a new purity culture.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of what it is. There's this weird thing that's happening where, and it's not new. It's not new at all. And we'll get to that. But when religious people grab on, here's what I think is happening. I will get to the point, I promise.
Yeah. Okay.
Calm down.
I still don't know what you're talking about.
Religion is bad thinking. I think we can all agree with that.
Okay.
It is illogical sort of from the jump.
Uh-huh.
And as one trains oneself to allow illogical thoughts to hold pride of place in one's brain,
right?
I think other illogical thoughts find their way in quite easily.
Okay.
And one of those illogical thoughts, or one subset of those, is bad thinking about various science stuff, including health.
Yes. And diet.
And diet, specifically. Yes. People love to jump on a bandwagon about what is or isn't okay to put in their face holes. And the latest one, the big hot button issue right now is seed oils.
Oh, they're terrible,
the
Dan.
Seed oils. They're just terrible for us. And I'm guessing that some of our listeners right now are on the seed oils are bad gravy train.
Oh, yeah. Because they're awful, Dan. Have you not been following this?
In point of fact, I have.
Oh, no. Well, then Dan, that canola, corn, soybean, sunflower, safflower, cottonseed, grapeseed, and rice bran oils cause inflammation, obesity, cancer,
my goodness,
and many other et ceteras.
And they absolutely do, unless you ask an actual food scientist. In which case they don't really. But if you
how dare
don't
you, Dan?
ask,
How dare you? How dare you?
Yeah,
inflammation, Dan. Have you ever been inflamed?
I'm inflamed right now. I am totally inflamed.
I would do anything to not be inflamed, including avoiding safflower oil.
Yeah. Here's the thing. These oils are fine, you guys. You can consume them. You're fine. There are the just so that you know what the claim is. The claim is that one of the acids in these oils, which is an omega-6 fatty acid that I forget the name of, when you eat it, it turns into a different acid, and that acid causes all sorts of inflammation. Blah blah blah. What they don't talk about is the fact that like it's 0.2% of that acid that turns into the other acid. And it's not enough to really, there's no evidence that it actually has any inflammatory problems or whatever.
How dare you, Dan? I had a French fry the other day and I swelled up like a balloon.
Yeah. I saw a TikTok of there's this food scientist who has a TikTok channel and she's actually quite funny. She's very dry. You would like her a lot. But she at one point she was doing a thing about seed oils, and you know, she plays both characters. The character of her setup is, here's every conversation I've ever had as a food scientist, and it's always like someone saying, "Did you know that seed oils are really bad for you?" And she's like, "Well, actually, here's the science about it." And then it always ends with them saying, No, you're wrong. I ate a stick of butter just yesterday and I feel much better now.
Well, and that I wanted to get to that what they want as the alternatives, right?
Yeah.
Are butter, lard, and tallow and other sort of what I guess you could call traditional fats.
Yes, the cholesterol fats.
The ones that we were told were also so bad. Right. And I don't know. I don't keep a tub of margarine around anymore. I'm back to butter, right?
Yeah,
for like toast and whatnot.
I'm like it's just fucking in moderation, people. All the things in moderation.
Absolutely.
Fried foods, moderate the shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I think that's the point. But boy, do human brains like to go to extremes.
Yeah.
Oh, something's not good for you. Cut it out completely.
Yeah. No.
There's no need. That's not how it works.
Eat a little butter. Fry some stuff in some tallow. Oh my God. The fact that McDonald's stopped frying their French fries in tallow, they have not been the same since, right? They were famous for their excellent French fries. And now they're just like everybody else's, right? But back in the 90s, we just had to get off of all of those, like, you know, animal-based fats, I guess. And
well, I mean, the problem is the frying, right? The frying is the problem. It's not what you're frying it in. But these are all problems. Like, these are all bad to have in excess, right? Like, excess is not good. Moderation is good. If you switch all of your seed oils to just You eat the same things, but it's fried in tallow now instead of in seed oils.
Good luck with that.
Have fun exchanging your inflammation and cancer with heart attack, because that, with cholesterol and heart attack or whatever it is.
Oh, and you're not getting cancer from that too, right? Like, come on. You're getting cancer from fucking everything.
I need to tie this back to the religious thing, because what's really interesting is that what's happening is that a lot of the sort of the food gurus, the nutrition dude bros out there are tying it into their religion and making it like this thing of good Christians take care of their body. Their body is a temple, and they have to keep their temple pure, and they use that word purity. And they don't just use it about, there's this whole thing about purity, and it's used in weird ass ways. So yes, there's the whole purity, there's the sexual purity thing, which is, the way they talk about that is just poison, obviously. But then there's also it turns into really, really gross stuff like racial purity. And
what?
We're talking.
They're getting to that? No.
This absolutely. This is white Christian nationalism that grabs onto all of these things. It doesn't matter. Like seed oil is a lot of it is being perpetuated. Like this hatred of seed oil is being perpetuated by white Christian nationalists who are seeing it as a way, again, of fear mongering, of driving people. It's a control tactic. It's the same as all of the religion.
Yeah.
Give them something to be afraid of. Yeah. Give them something that, that is it's costly signaling. Mm-hmm. It's virtue signaling.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't eat seed oils. And then I'm one of the good ones.
I mean, it's interesting because religion definitely has a tradition of interfering with diet. Right.
Yeah.
And prescribing certain foods, right, as being bad and must be banned, and whether it was just because it was dirty or whatnot, right? Yeah. Mormons and fucking coffee, right? What could you possibly have against coffee?
What did coffee ever do to you, Joseph Smith?
How much must Joseph Smith have loathed himself to deny himself some coffee?
He didn't. He didn't deny himself coffee. That's the thing. He drank it.
Yeah.
He drank wine. He just, anyway. If you think that it is a stretch for me to connect seed oils to racial purity, let me draw the line. Let me show you that this line draws itself. It is a direct link. I'm reading an article from Religion News where they talked to a guy named Andrew Torba, who is a Christian nationalist dude bro guy, who says, oh my God, first of all, he blames the seed oil, the rise of seed oil, on a guy named Phil Sokoloff, who did crusade against fatty foods.
Mm-hmm.
For years back in the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
They blame him for, you can blame him too if you want to, for getting McDonald's to abandon tallow.
I have a name now?
Yeah.
I can actually focus my anger?
I wouldn't do it if I were you, because he's Jewish and these guys directly use that. Here's a quote. "The ultimate goal of our enemies is the destruction of our nations and the replacement of our people with those who are more easily controlled and manipulated." And if you don't know what the word replacement means in this place, you can Google replacement theory.
Oh, Jesus.
It's absurd and disgusting. He says, by keeping us sick, weak, and distracted, they are able to accelerate this process and ensure that we are unable to resist their plans. So apparently eating more lard and tallow is going to make them no longer the sick, weak Christians, easily taken over by the Jews who will replace them.
Oy, 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 oy.
It is I like they grab onto these things and then make them directly. It's so freakish, weird, scary.
Yeah.
And then it gets out into the rest of the, because what happens is that like some unwitting, dumb reporter at a respectable news outlet, catches on to this happening, finds one doctor who has made it their life's work to hate on seed oils, which there are, and then publishes a thing about it, and then suddenly it's now in the general zeitgeist,
right?
And you've got a bunch of people not even knowing that they're kind of amplifying a weird Christian nationalist, white supremacist talking point. Like,
yeah,
it's so fucking weird.
I mean, let's not throw all of the people who are concerned about seed oils, right?
I'm not saying that they're racist, that they're Christian nationalists, but like,
right,
somehow they're participating in it unwittingly without knowing.
I mean, just because you're
right that it's not a direct.
Yeah,
it
feels a little bit like you are drawing a connection here. That's like, just because this one group, right, is promoting it, we just need to be aware when we hear this kind of stuff of who might be promoting it and why, right?
Yeah.
But I think more importantly to me is that the lack of actual evidence that these things are as bad as they're saying, right?
Yeah.
And that, again, in like, you don't have to cut out, you don't have to never have a fried thing again in your life. Just be sensible, right? In that, or whatever, right? Like,
ramp up the vegetables,
eat more veggies,
ramp down the fried stuff, but you don't have to throw it all away.
We're saying that this is all about fried foods. I mean, these oils are used in all sorts of ways in our diets, right?
Yeah.
But obviously the one that's going to be the worst for you would be the frying, right?
Presumably, yeah.
I'm
not a food scientist. What do I know?
Yeah, fair enough.
One of the things that I did want to get to just really quickly is that this isn't new. And the RNS very wisely connected it back to John Harvey Kellogg, who's one of my favorite demons in American history.
Yeah.
This is the guy that invented the cornflakes. P.S., by the way.
Delicious. Thank you.
Oh, man. Can't thank him enough.
I love me a cornflake.
He also was the founder and owner of the Battle Creek Sanitarium.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Where he had a religiously affiliated health spa that people would go to and have like daily high colonics, daily enemas.
Ooh.
He insisted that sex was bad, like literally bad. He refused to have sex. It was like he was a big supporter of eugenics. He was just problematic all the way down.
Yeah.
And was convinced that he knew what good nutrition looked like and what bad nutrition looked like. And, literally cornflakes he invented to solve nutrition.
That's all you ever needed to eat for the rest of your life was cornflakes.
Yeah.
It is interesting, though, that here is somebody so concerned about diet as well, also racist. Right.
Oh, wildly racist.
Right.
Wildly
racist. I mean, eugenics was the incredible, horrible practice of studying the races and breeding humans and whatnot in order
he literally talked about
have the master race or whatever, and
he wanted
white purity and what have you.
Yeah, he wanted to save not all of the human race, but, quote, the white portion of the human race. Yeah. It's just fascinating how when your brain's primed for bad ideas, they all, I don't know why brains get primed for bad ideas. Maybe there's a brain worm involved. You know what I mean?
I'm sure we have bad ideas, Dan.
You and I?
Yeah, we just lucked out and got the good ones.
We got the good bad ideas instead of the bad ideas. Oh, believe me, I have plenty of bad ideas. I don't think anyone will argue with me on that.
We just have the right bad ideas.
Yeah, well, better bad ideas than, eugenics.
Yeah, we're fucking kidding.
So I win on that front.
Yeah. I mean, we're not dietitians. We're not nutritionists. We're not food scientists. We're not anybody who you should listen to for advice on your diet.
Right.
But
you know who else isn't that? Any of the people we've mentioned. Right. RFK Jr., Christian nationalists, fucking Kellogg, whatever. What you should do is go to trusted sources and look at what the actual science says.
Yeah. Talk to your doctor.
Yeah.
When your doctor is telling you that your cholesterol's high, maybe listen.
Not that individual doctors know everything, but
no.
Yeah.
But they know how to have your who to tell to draw some blood and send it over to a clinic.
Yeah.
And come up with some numbers and be like,
some labs
and be like, oh, your LDL is too high.
Yeah.
Right. Like,
yeah.
So maybe you need to do something about that.
Yeah. And if your doctor is talking about cutting out seed oils, run away. All right. Well, that's it for the show. I'm guessing some folks have some shit to say about seed oils and whatnot. Feel free.
We touched on one, Dan. This is gonna suck.
We might have struck a nerve, everybody. Write into us, podcast at thankgodimatheist.com.
Or call and leave us a voicemail message. The telephone number is 424-666-8442.
To support the show, go to thankgodimatheist.com/donate.
This episode was edited by Roger Gowdy, and music was provided by the Red Rock Hot Club and Gordon Johnston.
Hey, thanks so much to all y'all for tuning in. We sure do appreciate you.
Thanks so much. Bye-bye.
Thank God I'm Atheist is a production of TGIA Media, LLC, copyright 2024, all rights reserved.